Hello everyone. Today I am coming with the editorial page of the Hindi newspaper, date 1 September 2025. So let's begin. Renewed focus. India and Japan showed that their ties were stable amid a global churn. On the first leg of his tour east, Prime Minister Narendra Modi traveled to Japan for a two-day visit for the 15th annual summit with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, before moving to Tianjin to attend the SCO summit. The last summit in India was in 2022. The two sides issued at least a dozen documents, aimed primarily at updating their agreements and giving them a next-gen focus. Japanese businesses have raised their investment targets in India to $68 billion and signed out 170 MOUs with Indian partners. Apart from joint statement, there was a 2035 vision statement, including 8 areas of cooperation such as economic security, mobility and green technology transition. A next-gen state prefecture partnership highlighted grassroots level ties and boosting of direct flight connectivity. India and Japan updated their 2008 security partnership to include an annual NSA level dialogue, more engagement over the Quad, Indo-Pacific cooperation and UN Security Council reform. Of interest is their economic security partnership goal to build resilient supply chains and secure critical infrastructure using Japanese technology to help manufacture and process semiconductor technology in India. As Indian companies faces Chinese restrictions on the export of rare earth metals. Japan's collaboration with India's high-speed rail bullet train project was showcased with Mr. Modi and Mr. Ishiba traveling to Miyagi province by train, where they also inspected a semiconductor factory. The joint statement include strong language condemning North Korea's m- missile test and nuclear program and the Pahalgam attack and cross-border terrorism, albeit without mention of Pakistan. The leaders also stressed the importance of upcoming Quad Summit of Leaders in India this year, which has come under a cloud over Mr. Trump's action against India. While the text of the India-Japan meeting was largely bilateral, the subtext was geopolitical. Mr. Modi flew to Tokyo in the wake of the massive American tariffs which threatened to upturn the Indian economy. He also chose to make Japan his first stop before his talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping on Sunday towards normalizing relations after a year standoff. Japan too is concerned about the situation in the East China Sea and has tensions over trade with the US, which led to cancel a trade negotiation team visit to Washington. The message that Mr. Modi and Mr. Ishiba sent out was the amid geopolitical turmoil caused by global powers, the India-Japan relationship remains stable and grow, continue to grow. Apart from that, one more article by Kadiara Pathiagoda is an author and an advisor and geopolitical strategist. Ukraine as a battle between America and Washington. The outcome of the Alaska summit on August 15, 2025 was not the product of a diplomatic contest between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin or the United States and Russia or the US and Europe. Neither was the outcome of talks that Mr. Trump held with European leaders and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The biggest unknown variable impacting the question of peace was how much Mr. Trump would concede to Russia, while he acceded to Mr. Putin's demand for no ceasefire without a permanent peace agreement and no North Atlantic Treaty Organization in Ukraine. Mr. Trump's campaign platform in 2024 had promised much more: an immediate end to the war. Mr. Trump could deliver this and satisfy this base by offering the requisite incentives to Moscow in exchange for halting its advance and convincing Kiev by leveraging arms supply and intelligence sharing. His inability to bring peace reveals the limits of power that the President of the United States has to enact the platform that he was democratically elected on. These limits are due to a contest inside the US, one that will likely shape future global security more than any other internal power struggle in any country. This includes shaping the US response to India's rise. It is the contest between the America First or anti interventionist camp and those represented by what Mr. Trump himself rose to power dreading the permanent Washington. From 2024 on, during the 2024 presidential campaign, Mr. Trump promised that he would end the Ukraine war on my first day in office and even before I enter office. This was striking. Campaign promises are usually undertakings known to be popular, and Western mainstream media had spent 2 years stigmatizing any call for peace with Russia, delineating it as a fringe opinion. But Mr. Trump knew what was really revealed: that the American public agreed. Even in early 2024, 66% of Americans supported a negotiated end to the war, even if it involved compromises with Russia, as a Quincy Institute survey found. This reflected a growing and widely held position among the American population that the US should curtail its worldwide military adventures and relocate resources domestically. Six of the last eight US presidential elections were won by a candidate who wanted a less interventionist foreign policy than their opponent. This anti-interventionist position is sanguine about other great powers such as India, China, and Russia, maintaining hegemony in their respective regions while the US prioritizes its own hemisphere. The Trump approach versus factors. Anti-interventionism is central to Mr. Trump Make America Great Again mega movement, and one that is espoused by true believers such as US Vice President J.D. Vance and Indian American Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Mr. Trump's election victory was a popular endorsement of peace, particularly given that it was the only aspect of foreign policy where there was a meaningful over difference with that of the former US President Joe Biden. Despite this critical clear mandate and the straightforward path to peace given Russia's unambiguous long-standing demands, Mr. Trump's approach since his election has vacillated. When it comes to optics and public narrative, he has made some strides in line with his pledges. He undermined both the defection of Ukraine, dressing down Mr. Zelensky at the White House, and demonetization of Russia's Alaska summit. De- Demonization of Russia's Alaska summit. In doing so, he has helped re-normalize US diplomacy with its rivals, harking back to a more pragmatic time. Mr. Trump concrete policy action towards peace, however, a fraction of that promised. At most, he briefly halted weapon shipments to and intelligence sharing with Ukraine, but this was outweighed by continuing to bankroll Kiev's defense as well as escalations such as secondary sanctions on India for purchasing Russian oil. Recently, Mr. Trump humored the backers of the non-starter proposal for a post-war security guarantee for Ukraine. The reason for this dithyramb is a contest, an ongoing negotiation, a back and forth between Mr. Trump and his movement, and this those who have largely dominated US foreign policy since the death of President John F. Kennedy. The latter, approximately outlined by Eisenhower, consists of a coalition of commercial and ideological interests intersecting in their preference, primarily for continuous military action and spending, and secondarily for US global hegemony. it is represented by permanent Washington, neocon politicians whom it funds, and ideological civil servants include those the Republican establishment foisted on Trump's administration. Often the contest plays out internally within individuals, sometimes inside Mr. Trump himself. A clash. The Alaska Summit is a case in point. The two forces within US foreign policy clashed, sculpting a promised result. Mr. Trump got his desired optics, a red carpet for Mr. Putin, evoking grand Cold War era summits, positioning the US president as a peacemaker statements and staying true to his promise to the American people without granting concession to Russia. However, it ensured that the war would carry on and a continuation of permanent Washington's interest being served. The Ukraine war is the closest the world has ever come to a global nuclear conflagration. The pathway from the abyss is not by complex international negotiations. There are complex domestic power struggles inside the US. The final resolution will be determined not by America versus Russia, but by America versus Washington. So, to will many of the geostrategic contests in the decades ahead. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching.